Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson, Chapter 31. The sixth and last sojourn of Beelzebub on the planet Earth. When, after 2 Ornokras, the cosmic intersystem ship Karnak had left the sphere of the atmosphere of the planet Revosvadentra, and began to fall back in the direction of the solar system Pandetsnoch, onto the planet Karatas, Hussein, having sat down in his usual place, addressed Beelzebub with the following words. My dear and beloved grandfather, be kind as always, and tell me something more about the 3-centered beings breeding on that planet which is called Earth. In reply to this, Beelzebub related about his 6th and last visit on the planet Earth. He began thus. I was on that planet for the 6th time, just before I received my full pardon and permission to leave that most remote solar system situated even almost beyond the reach of the immediate emanations of the Omni-Most Holy Son Absolute. That is, just before my return here to the center of the universe, to the place of my arising, to the immediate bosom of our common unibeing endlessness. This time, circumstances unexpectedly so came about that I had to exist there among these peculiar beings a fairly long time, namely a little less than a year of our time, or by the time calculation there, more than 300 years. As initial cause of this last visit of mine to the surface of that planet which has pleased you, the following circumstances served. You must know that after my 5th visit to the surface of that planet of yours, I continued likewise, as before, to observe from time to time the existence of those 3-brained beings who please you. I observed them particularly attentively at those periods when there proceeded among them their chief particularity, namely their processes of reciprocal destruction. And I observed so attentively at these periods because I wished to make unquestionably clear to myself the causes of the periodic manifestations of such an exceptionally terrible need of their strange psyche, strange to the point of the phenomenal. When I happened to be a little freer, I would at times follow for almost a whole Martian day or night every kind of their manifestations during these processes. Well, thanks to these special observations of mine, both from the planet Mars and during my former personal sojourns there among them, I had a more or less definite understanding concerning all the ways and means used by them for more effective destruction of each other's existence. Well, my boy, once, while watching, as usual, this process of theirs from the planet Mars through my big Tescaano, I suddenly noticed that which served as the initial cause impelling me to undertake my 6th descent. Namely, I saw this time that without moving from their place, they did with a certain thing something which resulted in a tiny puff of smoke, whereupon a being from the opposite side immediately fell down, either totally destroyed, or with one or other part of his planetary body mutilated or destroyed forever. Such a means of reciprocal destruction I had never seen before, and there had not yet been crystallized in my presence any data for the confrontative logical explanation of the possibility on their part of using such a means for destroying the existence of other beings similar to themselves. Concerning each and every of their ways and means, the purpose of which was the destruction of each other's existence, I had already had before this a definite logical confrontation which explained to me just what are the accidentally arising surrounding factors that bring forth in them impulses and stimuli, as the result of which their essence is gradually brought to such a phenomenal being ableness to destroy, for no rhyme or reason, the existence of other beings similar to themselves. But for this new means, which I now saw for the first time, for destroying each other's existence, my former logical and psychological explanations could not indeed in any way be applied. I had formerly explained to myself that such an exclusively abnormal inherency in the psyche is not self-acquired by the beings of the given epoch. But I understood that this terrifying periodic being need was acquired and gradually assimilated by them during the course of very many of their centuries. Also, of course, thanks to the abnormal conditions of existence established by the beings of past generations, and that this being need had already become finally inherent in the contemporary three-brained beings, owing to external circumstances not depending upon them, and that it had become inevitably proper to them to occupy themselves with this. And indeed, my boy, during these processes, they usually instinctively at first refrain from such an unnatural manifestation. But later, when every one of them, already in the environment of the process itself, willy-nilly sees and becomes convinced that the destruction of the existence of those similar to themselves proceeds so simply, and that the number of the destroyed always grows and grows, well then, each of them involuntarily begins instinctively to feel and automatically to value his own existence. And having become persuaded by his own eyes that the possibility of losing his own existence depends at the given moment absolutely on the number of beings of the enemy side not destroyed, then in consequence of the strengthened functioning in his imagination of the presence of the impulse called cowardice, and on account of the impossibility at each moment of reasonable deliberation by his being mentation, weakened already without this, he begins from a natural feeling of self-preservation to strive with all his being to destroy as many as possible of the existences of the beings of the enemy side in order to have the greater chance of saving his own existence. And gradually progressing in this feeling of self-preservation of theirs, they then reach the state, as they themselves say, of bestiality. But as regards that means of the destruction of the existence of other beings similar to themselves which I then saw, it was now impossible to apply to it this logical confrontation at which I had just arrived, simply because I then clearly saw that the enemy side stood fairly far apart, that all warring beings were among their own, and that in these semi-favorable conditions, they quietly and absolutely cold-bloodedly, out of boredom as it were, did something with the help of a something, and thereby destroyed the existence of other beings similar to themselves. Well, this same new means of theirs for the destruction of each other's existence just strengthened in my essence the need to make indubitably clear and to understand all the genuine causes of this phenomenally strange